Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blades and bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, did you want them? Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icelandale, head out to Chull or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, did you want them? Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Hello, everybody. We are back with another Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I'm Gaarawarr, and this is the tutorial show. It was like right in the name. Anyway, this week the tutorial show topic is the Ishi Meta. That Ishi Meta. Ishi just got a rework. Ishi is a year 1 champion, but here in year 8, wild. She got a rework, and she's coming in hot. She's pretty great for. I don't want to be very specific. She's pretty great for like new to mid game players, and if late game and beyond you want to rock Ishi, you absolutely can. But she's definitely the new hotness for starting off. Getting through, getting solidly into the game, and we'll talk about why today. Along with, some champions that might be fun to use with her and how her kit works. But basically, it's a deeper dive into Ishi than we did when she was a featured champion in the rework, in the event with her rework. Joining me today in the production booth is Sasha. Sasha's going to be grabbing questions from chat. As long as you put question : like it says down there in the little white box at the bottom. This is, of course, on Twitch, just in case we're streaming somewhere else today. Put your questions in chat on Twitch. Sasha's going to grab them, put them in a little backstage document for me, because the way this show works is I talk for the first half-ish on a topic, and then I answer questions in the second half-ish. So this, for people who are like, 2 hours on Ishi, no, it's an hour-ish. Sometimes, we might be as short as like 40 minutes on the topic, and sometimes when we have like lots of champions to cover, we're like an hour and a half on the topic. It depends on how many things we're doing. We're just talking about Ishi today, so it may very well be that, we finish this conversation in 40 minutes, and then we do lots of questions. So throw your questions in chat today if you about anything, about Ishi, about recent patches, the upcoming event, Fleet's Wake. As long as it's champions and systems and stuff like that, I probably have an answer or can get you in the right direction. After 7.5 years of playing the game, I probably can get you started. probably get you started. Yeah, I guess the first thing everybody's going to want, though, since we had a pop-up, is the code. I'm live. Click up here on chests. If you're on a PC, hold down like left control and then click on this on the cryptex. Here's what regular clicking does. It's a nice slow little open and close, right? But if I control click on it, boom. And then every time I click on it, it's super fast. It's super fast. And then if you're going to type it in, the switch down here on the bottom left is 16 characters. But if you're just going to copy paste like I am, it's going to auto switch. Team Snaggletooth. And you get your Electrum chest. Also, make sure if you have signed up for the newsletter, if you haven't yet, please go sign up for the newsletter. Under the menu button, you get your free gold compass chest for the weekend. Contracts, that's what I want. Up here under menu, newsletter, enter a valid email address. You get a free champion right away, and then every week they give you a free gold chest. Or whatever the weekend is. This weekend is the Find Your Way weekend. Hence the gold compass chest. Featuring Halsin, Brunor, Minsk, Shadowheart, and Sentry. Anything there that really jumps out? They're okay. They're okay. And yes, this starting here very shortly. Oh, already up. Already ready already? Oh, because it's Saturday. Gaarawarr. Been a long week, folks. Every week is a long week. As of yesterday at noon, Pacifically speaking, it's a free Timegate weekend. So you can view your available time gates. Yours may very well be different from mine, and pick a free Timegate to go get. Go do that. Go do that. All right, let's talk about Ishi. Ishi is a seat 4 champion right over here. So swapping off a Jarlaxle seat. Get Ishi in. I believe this is the default. I don't think I have any skins for Ishi. I don't. I may have to fix that now that she's fantastic. So, Ishi, female Kobold fighter rogue. So, there you go. Chaotic good alignment. DPS and gold find champion, but really, it's all about that damage. All about the damage, and it just so happens she also delivers on gold. Right? No affiliation. You know, basic overwhelm for a squishy is always 5. Melee base attack, so she is going to fit in with melee-centric teams. Quick strike. Ishi attacks the frontmost enemy. There's more there, but we're going to get to that because it's actually part of her passive and attaches itself to her melee attack. So, the passive, that's any level 0 ability, like this. Look at that. I got a draw tool now, folks, and I'm going to use it. Be warned. I'm going to use it every chance I can get. Me first. Ishi always attacks 0.25 seconds faster than the fastest member of the formation. Or every 6 seconds if nobody else is in the formation. So we're on our own. It's every 6 seconds. Every 6 seconds. Okay. It's over here. Gotta do this. I keep trying to do it on my game and it won't let me do that. I gotta do it on this screen. Let's get some things out of the way. I didn't get to have these this kind of full in-depth conversation the last time, so let's do it now. Misconceptions. That's not, well, I guess that could be Ishi's drag name. Misconceptions. The proper build around here isn't to find the fastest attacker in the game and make sure to always have them in your party. I've heard that from some people. That's not how we do it. That's not how we do it. We're going to talk about some ways to do it. But that isn't the way this works. Now, don't get me wrong, that if you are just building like the best formation you can, she is going to come in faster than whoever your fastest attacker is. Fantastic. Great. Right. But there are much better ways, and much more functional ways to get her attack speed to get as quick as you can, and we're gonna talk about that. So I just want to be clear. This is a neat ability, but it isn't what we're gonna use to get her in an ideal situation. Isn't what we're gonna use to get her attacking as fast as she possibly can. I almost said as fast as humanly possible, but no, as fast as koboldly possible. We're gonna koboldly go where no human has ever gone before. All right. Primary ability. This is the big one. Well, one of the big ones. Monsters are people too. This is the build around. So monsters are people too. Ishi's damage is increased by an amount that varies. And you can see that it varies here, which means there's an item for that. It's her slot 3. An amount that varies for each non-human in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. So not only is multiplicatively the good way, we see that the amount varies with an item, which means that's the OP way. That means this is a pre-stack ability, what I call a mathematically overpowered, or MOP ability. These are the strongest grouping of abilities in the game. That doesn't mean this specific ability is going to be amazing. It's pretty solid. But these have the most potential, and the nicest and the even nicer thing about them is, unlike a regular ability, anything that isn't a pre-stack, this one will continue to scale no matter how many item levels you put on it. Like we have here, I have 1,437 item levels on my golden feathered hat. Invested solidly into Ishi. The idea here is that, like with a regular item, like this just straight up increases the damage of Ishi, you hit after like the first 100 item levels you put on an item are the strongest, most impactful. They're the most bang for your buck. Let me put it that way. The most bang for your individual item level, right? So when we say strongest, most impactful, you're getting the most power per item level in those first 100 levels. And diminishing returns literally kicks in from the beginning, but it really starts to kick into its curve after 100. And then it takes to get the same type of improvement out of putting item levels. You have to put way more item levels in. Like you can't just another 100 and we've doubled the power. That's not how it works. Because of diminishing returns. But with a mop ability, or a pre-stack, however you want to refer to it, this one, because this number, it still has those diminishing returns effects. It does. But because it's modifying a base value of an ability that is then stacking with itself multiplicatively, you get much better scaling power out of it, right? It's going to continue, it's scaling even with diminishing returns, but because you're multiplicatively stacking, the end result is less diminished, much less diminished than a regular ability would, or even a regular item, right? So these are great. So this is the build around. Ishi wants non-human. That's our first key. You don't want, if at all possible, you don't want humans in the formation at all. That's where we're going with Ishi. Okay. Let's find some treasure. This is the gold find ability. Ishi increases the party's gold find by 100%, unless they fixed it. We'll see in a second. I know it says a number that's varied, and you're right now you're going, restack gold find? That number's huge compared to the, no. We're gonna check. For each non-human champion, stacking multiplicatively. Same build around, folks. So you're being rewarded with damage for building a non-human formation, and you're being awarded with gold for building a non-human formation. So in both of these ways, you really, really, really want to build non-humans with Ishi. Now, if you're a brand new player, that's not going to be, it's okay. Look, we got Brunor, but then we got a human, then we got another human, but then we got a half elf. Okay, it's a half of them so far. Oh, and this isn't human, but he's human. but they're not human and they're not human, right? So if you're brand new, you're going to have to deal with some humans, with some humanity. But not for long. I mean, that's not that many slots or bench seats, and you can find swaps for those if you want to build around Ishi. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right. So non-human. We want to build around non-humans. And one of the things that you could do it is they don't have this as easy as possible, but this is the champion search. We're going to go swoopy swappy button into blue search button at the bottom right. Champion search. We're gonna reset. You're gonna click this so it shows all the champions that you possibly have in every bench seat, right? And then there's a species tab. Now the problem is there isn't a quick way to go show me everything except human. Because literally every one of these boxes, except this one, you would need to check. Now, there are presets, and I have done the work. So here is non-human. Look, it barely changed. It just got rid of the humans. It just got rid of the humans. And so to see who, you can kind of see who we're getting rid of. There are a lot of humans, right? And yes, Human is listed here because they're human. They're totally human and not 3 kobolds in a trench coat. It's getting rid of all of these characters and removing that from your option list to get into non-human. So there are. I say that because there are a lot. There is a wide variety of people you can or champions you can pair with Ishi, but we potentially want to get into even more specific formations because of Ishi's specialization. So we have friend of the familiar, friend of the feared, and friend to the exceptional. So you really want to build around this one too. Because here's what it's going to say for each of these. Ishi's damage is increased by an amount that varies for each of the following in the formation, and it stacks multiplicatively. So we have stacking multiplicatively and an amount that varies, which means we have an item for that, which means we have another pre-stack ability here, right? Another mop. So that means you want to build around this too. And each of these is groupings of champions. Okay. So the bigger the number, the better. Friend of the familiar is building around Aasimar, dwarf, elf, gnome, halfling, and half-elves. So some fairly familiar species. Friend of the feared is dragonborns, Goliaths, orcs, which we don't have any of in the game, tieflings, and half-orcs. Okay. Slightly more restricted by 1. There's like 6 of the familiar, there's 5 of the feared, one of which doesn't even exist in the game, so technically only 4. Which is why the numbers vary. It's you know, it's a smaller number here, it's a larger number here. Right? And then if we come over here, it's a even smaller number, which means this is going to be the largest grouping. Which means the best potential multiplier is going to be feared. But I'll show you, we don't have a lot of those. We don't have a lot of those. And that's why. So later on, it could be highly functional. So friend of the exceptional, this is non-standard species. So non-standard was introduced recently with Calyx, which is why we have basically Calyx's face here. Calyx basically wants non-standard. And what is non-standard? It's anything that isn't in the 2024 Player's Handbook. Which are the following. Aasimar, Dragonborn, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Goliath, Halfling, Human, Orcs, Tieflings. They also threw in half Orcs and half Elves. Those are standard species. So anything that isn't those. And once again, I went through and made, I have a feared and I have a non-standard. Here's non-standard. Solid set of options. Not as many, right, as just non-human. But this is a solid group of options if you want to go with exceptional. Otherwise, feared looks like this. Much smaller grouping, right? There are a lot. You can build a whole feared formation if you want. The number I've got a chart. So in my guides now, champion guides, I try to put in tables that show when a spec choice is basically just math like this, like you're trying to do the math with varied numbers of like base values and stacking multiplicatively, like how do you do that? I put in tables now. I'm trying to put in tables. I think I have a table for everyone, but some of them need to get fleshed out. I just fleshed out Gale's a little better. His is far more useful. It shows all the breakpoints now. So you can just look at that table and tell exactly, like, build your formation, get to the spec choice, and instead of trying to do all the math yourself, or just picking one at random, you can look at the table and you can compare the numbers to see, well, which one of these is going to be biggest. Friend to the Feared at 9 stacks, because Familiar and Feared aren't going to count Ishi, because she doesn't fit into either of those groups. So you can only get 9 stacks, but 9 stacks of 9 stacks of Friend of the Familiar at the base value is a 147,000% damage, give or take. Friend to the Feared, 9 stacks, 381,000% damage, and change. So obviously that has the highest max potential. Whereas 10 stacks of Exceptional is only 102,000%, right? So obviously there's some serious differences between these. But there's also serious differences between the power of some of these champions and the functionality that they offer, right? So if we're looking through here, you have some decent Orkira, Queen of Debuffs. We got, functional, acceptable champions here. Mahen just got a rework, solid. Tank and support. Tank and that's a DPS. We don't need that. That's a DPS. We can't use that. Tank. That's a DPS. That ain't gonna work. Supports. Supports. A tank. Debuffer. Supports. This is DPS. Can't use him. Supports. Man, it's a kind of tank DPS. That's probably not gonna work, right? So that's how we're gonna do that. Why is Will in the Feared? I probably have a feed in that makes them feared. That's a good question. Why is Will in Feared? Do I have a feed on Will? Counts as Tiefling. Tiefling's under Feared. So it's a feat. It's the Tiefling feat, which is now a great time to talk about feats. I also, in Ishi's guide, have a table with all of the champions, I think it's updated, that have feats that switch their species. And it doesn't change it completely. It adds another species to it. Will is on that. He's normally a human, but he can count as a tiefling, right? So we've got Averin, Averin, Birdsong, Calliope, can go into 2 different species. Catti-Brie, Dinar, Freely can go into 2 different species. Havilar has 2 different options. Hitch, Mahen, Miria, Nayeli has 2 different options. Orkira has 2 different options. Penelope, Strongheart, Valentine, Wolfgar, and Will. We got a lot of options. I have that there too. These are all feats that can be obtainable that you can slot in and basically change their species. It doesn't change what shows up here. They will be both, right? So when trying to figure out what you're going to build around, you need to look like, obviously this has the highest damage potential for that singular ability. Again, this is a single ability. It is a pre-stack, but it is a single ability, and we don't necessarily want to fully dive into a single ability because look, it does have, a higher buff option, but it's staying in the same 100,000 and 300,000 are both EO5 buffs. Is the way we want to think about it. They're roughly, right? Or they're both, in the same, they're both in the same scientific notation range. Let's put it that way. Both in the hundreds of thousands of multipliers. What we need to remember is that you're going to have a lot of other abilities coming out of all of these other champions, and you want to find the best combination for you, right? You can make all of these functionally work. I've done an Exceptional, I've done a Feared, I've done a Familiar, now I just tested them out. My preferred one, and the one I'm going to talk about today for reasons that go into some of the other capabilities here, is Exceptional. So we're going to continue to talk about Ishi. I'm going to talk about why I think exceptional is kind of the way it is kind of exceptional. Exceptional is kind of exceptional. And we'll go from there. Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Let me. I want to double check because it's Saturday morning ish, non-standard. That's not. No. Yeah. Yes. I think this is the way I want to go. Okay. We're going to try it. We're going to make sure. We're not going to get perfect 10 stacks, and we're not going to do that on purpose. But we'll talk about it because we got another ability. We got another ability to factor in. So spec choice. Moving on. Ultimates. Let's talk about the ultimate. Would you like another pre-stack ability on your ultimate? Or another multiplicatively stacking? Excuse me, it's not pre-stack. Another multiplicatively stacking ability on your ultimate? Well, you get one, which is... What? Confidence boost. For 30 seconds, Ishi's damage is increased by 100% for each non-human in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Well, there should be 10 of those, right? There's no reason. Once you've developed built out your group, you should always have 10, hopefully. I know variants are going to change that, but generally speaking, the duration extends when Ishi lands the killing blow on a boss, so potentially it could go longer, right? And Ishi's going to be your DPS, so she should be what's killing bosses in the higher stages, right? So pretty great. Pretty great. Once again, builds around non-human. So three of Ishi's abilities build around non-human, which is wonderful. Okay, Treasure Hunter. Because why not add some more gold to her kit? Ishi increases the effect of Let's Find Some Treasure by 100% for every 4 seconds it has been since Ishi attacked but did not kill an enemy. It stacks multiplicatively up to 15 times. I know there's some questions around this. I'm gonna explain this as per my understanding of how this type of ability has worked pretty consistently over the last 7.5 years. And if they end up updating this to function a little bit differently, fine. But the way this is kind of supposed to work, like as my understanding of it is, this kicks in more when you're closer to your wall. And basically, the longer it takes you to kill something, the more gold you're gonna get off of it when it dies. But it's just off the first enemy that you kill. Like if you're waiting and enemies are feeding in and you're not able to kill anything, it's gonna build up to a max of over 60 seconds. So let's say you go 60 seconds, you haven't killed something yet, you hit your ultimate, you clear the wave, you're really only getting the effect of Treasure Hunter off the first enemy that dies. Big boost of gold drop off the first enemy that dies. And then all the rest are standard. That's the way it should. That's the way these have always kind of functioned. How this is going to ultimately work, we don't know. There's some interesting stuff because the way it reads is there is no reset. Like it doesn't say it resets when you kill. It just says it stacks. So this has been pointed out to the devs, and then they have to decide what they want to do with it. But for now, just understand it's most likely going to build up deeper where you actually need gold as opposed to early on. All right, faster, harder, stronger. This is another build around, sort of. We're going to build around it because it pays. It pays to build around this one, in my opinion. So Ishi keeps track of the number of attacks she has made in the last minute. So 60 seconds. She increases her damage by 100% for each attack, stacking multiplicatively. It's another multiplicatively stacking ability, but it's time-based, 60 seconds. Now, if she is at 6-second cooldown, that means, the most she's going to get is 10 stacks, but it's going to sit at 9 most of the time, right? Because that's how that's going to work. Because one's always going to fall off. But this obviously can go much, much faster. This is where you're like, oh, we want to make her go real. We want to make her attack real fast. Yeah. So the idea, this is another build around. It is multiplicatively stacking. It doesn't get affected. She has an item for it, but it doesn't affect the base value. It is 100%. This is a post stack. But this does, give it some diminishing returns, but make it bigger over time. But even on its own, you got to remember this is a 100% start for each stack, and it can go up to a lot. The others, look, the other one is what? 10 stack, like Ishi's gold find starts at 100%, and it can get up to 10 stacks, and that's still a nice chunk of gold, right? Her ultimate, 100%, can get up to 10 stacks. This is a good boost. Faster, harder, stronger. Spoiler alert. I got this to 91 stacks in my account. Not consistently. Consistently 89 to 90. I did see 91 show up once. So kind of like most of the time with this, it would show 9, but occasionally flicker onto a 10. I hit a 91. It's a lot. That's a lot, folks. I'm going to bring up a calculator because I don't trust my memory at the moment. I want to say we were in the E30 range. 8, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 20. This one's showing me like 27s. I think with the items, I was around E30. Look, the more stacks you give a multiplicatively stacking ability, even if it doesn't pre-stack with items, the more stacks you can give it, the bigger it gets. Like it gets its potential towards the end of those stacks, not early on. So it really pays off to try to build Ishi to attack as quickly as possible. Now, I started this talk about Ishi by saying, don't build around this passive of 0.25 seconds faster than the fastest member. Don't just throw in someone that's a super fast attacker. Like, don't come over here, reset, show me attack speed, cooldown, show me who's the fastest. Commodore Crux coming in as the fastest attack speed. This doesn't mean you throw in Commodores at 2.5. Because that means Ishi's going to attack at 2.25 seconds, right? If Crux is 2.5, that's only like 25 to 27 stacks for Ishi. So obviously, we want to do better somehow. And the way we do better is with other abilities that can increase someone's attack speed or give them extra attacks. Like extra base attacks. Like there are abilities in this game that when someone attacks, they have a chance to instantly reset their base attack and attack again without any cooldown. So we want to lean into one of those. We either want to reduce attack speed a lot for faster, harder, stronger, or we want to instantly reset their base attack skill. And we're going to talk about two ways to do that. There's one I prefer over the other because one of them involves a pair of humans and the other doesn't. So obviously, you do what you got to do, right? All right, well, let's talk about this next ability that's basically FOMO in an ability. This is the fear of missing out. Winner take all. Every day, Ishi gains 5 duel to the death stack. So every day, since Ishi came out, she's gonna earn 5 duel to the death stacks. When Ishi hasn't, I should come down. I'm gonna read the last sentence first because I really feel like they should have put this right up after this. Ishi can store up to 50 duel to the death stacks at once, and then you're done. Then you're capped. This is where the FOMO comes in because you never want to be at your cap. You never want to go. You never want to. Well, you can get up to the cap, but then you want to burn them down so that you're never You're never missing a day, right? So here's why. When Ishi has an available stack and gets the killing blow on a boss that drops a loot sack, what does that mean? Why did they specifically say a boss that drops a loot sack? Because the first time you go, this is the first time you kill a boss in an adventure. The first time you kill a boss in an adventure, it drops a loot sack. But every other time after that, like we're going to see here, it doesn't drop anything. I already killed this boss. So this means you can't do whatever this is going to trigger by just sitting on a boss level. You have to push with Ishi, reset, push again, reset, push again. You have to cycle. You have to go through the cycle. Okay. That's why they call that out. So, gets the killing blow on a boss that drops a loot sack. There's a 5% chance that she will consume a stack. So 1 out of every 20 bosses on average. Not guaranteed. Just on average. She will consume a stack and claim a piece of that boss's equipment as her own. She loots the body. Doesn't just grab the bag. She loots the body. And grants herself 6 item levels to a piece of her equipment at random. One of these items is getting 6 item levels. Basically for free. Just for playing the game. And she can do that 5 times a day. Right? There's 6 items. That means, on average, you're getting 5 average item levels a day. So all of your items could go, your average item level up here is going to go up by 5 every day. How that gets distributed? Random chaos, right? I got 1329, 1508, 1437, 1489, 1428, 251. That means it's capped. Don't be scared. That's just capped. It caps at 501 without any gilding, 251 if it's shiny, and 126 if it's golden. So there is going to be a random distribution of those item levels, but your average item levels for Ishi, as long as you're using her regularly so that she's consuming all 5 of her stacks a day, going to go up 5 average item levels a day. Okay. This is huge. This is huge for new players, like a brand new player, early game, mid game. Huge. Because this means just by using Ishi, you're going to ramp up one of her power curves without having to invest any of your resources in her. Because normally to get those item levels, you'd have to burn blacksmithing contracts. Right? So you're basically getting blacksmith. One of these, this is a small blacksmithing contracts that gives 6 item levels when you use it. Oh no, the blues. 6 item levels. This is 2. 1, 2, 6. 6 item levels when you use it. It's basically you're getting 5 of these a day, but it's straight on Ishi, which means you're freed up to use all the rest of your blacksmithing contracts on the champions that are supporting Ishi in her job, which is to kill things and make lots of money. Right? When the most recent new player account, which I'm going to start a new one soon, over on my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. I'm going to click on my name there in chat and toss me a follow for when I do that. But basically I started a new account and I started from the beginning and I play through as efficiently as possible, document it, and that's what goes into guides like my new player reference, the guided tour, right? It gives you tips on how to be a brand new player and go from day 1, second 1, all the way to solidly in the mid game, progressing with as few road bumps as possible. Hopefully no stoppages of progress. And one of the big things that helps you smoothly progress through the game is investing item levels into your pushing champions. And kind of the first milestone that I like to get champions to is 50 average item levels. And that can take a little while, to get everyone in your party to that. And obviously having your damage dealer get there is quick. Ishi does that in 10 days. She gets you, and that's enough. I got my Carlock, who I used as my DPS in my last run, to 50 average item levels, and basically left her there all the way through into the mid game. It took me about there to get her up to that. And we were clearing like tier 6 of trials, having no roadblocks whatsoever all the way through Icewind Dale. Basically never had any issues with just 50 average item levels. Ishi, and I was over like 3 months. Ishi can do that in 10 days. In 20 days, she can be at 100 average item levels, which is like the next milestone. Ridiculous. Ridiculous that she can power herself up like this. This is by far, if you want to think about it, her strongest ability, because she's constantly feeding herself item levels, and item levels are power. Now, obviously, the other abilities are going to be numerically stronger, but this affects all those other abilities, and thus it makes it the strongest kind of part of her kit. And it makes her now, for me, as I said this at the start of the game, kind of the queen of new player DPS. She is now your starter DPS. Normally you start the game and your first DPS is Jarlaxle. Well, as soon as you can get into Ishi, your game now becomes a much better experience, and stays a better experience. Right? New player, early game, mid game, maybe even, I mean, starting transition to late game. I mean, I don't know how many item levels. I have no idea how many item levels she would have by the time you got like into the late game curve. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be ridiculous. So yeah, nowadays, if you start the game and you're gonna throw cash at the game, if we hop over to the shop, you don't have to, but if you do, back to that. There are these starter packs. There's a choose your champion pack, and a triple choose your champion pack. These are, if you're going to throw cash at the game when you first join, these are the best. This is one of the best ways to do it. One of the best ways to do it. But to get yourself a good champion or 3, yeah. And people ask a lot now, ever since these got out of the game. You know, hey, I got one of these triple champion things. What 3 champions should I start the game with? And I always had 2 for them. I was always like, well, you want Diana because she's a great speed champion, because her speed effect works on every area. There's nothing that ever turns it off, and it scales super fast, like super fast with item levels, as well as she's got some feats for that. So super small investment, super good speed champion. And on top of that, she also scavenges Electrum chests. And Electrum chests give you gear and duplicate item levels. Right? Fantastic. New player, brand new player champion. And the other one you want is Eliwick, because Eliwick gives you buffs, which, yeah, they all give you buffs, so that's fine. But she also gives you more gems. And gems are truly, truly outrageous. They're what you know, up here. I've got way too many. I got to go spend some. They're what you use to buy chests, to get better gear, and to get duplicate item levels, but also all those consumables you need to progress, right? Even now, I spend millions of gems, you know, every week on gold chests to get progress via blacksmithing contracts and bounty contracts. You do that even in the late game, right? Obscured persona. I have to pause. That's not a Tarek reference. That is a Gem in the Holograms reference that Tarek referenced himself. So, we got to go to the Wayback Machine. So, the other one, Eliwick. Eliwick's going to give you gems, which you need. Gems are power, because gems turn into chests, which turn into power, right? But also, Eliwick gives you gold. Got gold find multipliers, too, which you want early on, too. And I never really said, I always said, well, for the third one, just the primary DPS of your choice. Whatever damage dealer that you want to build your account around through the early game, early and mid game, that's who you want to pick up third. Well, now that's just 100% Ishi. Because Ishi, then you don't have to invest any item levels into. She's going to do that herself. And that frees up those blacksmithing contracts for you to more efficiently invest in Diana and Eliwick at the start, and then any of the other main champions you start picking up. Ishi's amazing. So, you know, if you're somebody who's starting the game and you're going to do this like triple pack, which is a ridiculous price. 3 champions, gear, platinum chests, you get a familiar, you get a bunch of platinum on top of that, and speed potions. It's a ridiculous value. If you're doing that, your first 3 champions, if you don't have any of them yet, Diana, Eliwick, Ishi. It's fantastic. So yeah, huge. Winner takes all. Yeah. Ishi's the winner. She takes it all. That's her whole kit, folks. But that's a lot, right? Item-wise, self-damage. We get faster, harder, stronger, but post-stack. Monsters are people too. Pre-stack. Let's find some treasure. Should be post-stack. We're going to double-check that. I forgot. Specializations, post-stack, and ultimate cooldown reduction. And that's fine. You want as much of this as you can too, because remember, her ultimate is a multiplicatively stacking ability. Right? You can get all the kind of feats you want. Damage all champions, gold fine, blah, whatever. We don't want that. We want damage, so there's some self-damage. We want monsters or people too. Obviously the 80% one, because this is the multiplicatively stacking with the pre-stack. The feats apply pre-stack, so we're going to throw those in. If you're trying to boost your gold find early on, like you are a new player and you need favor, you need gold and you need favor, you're going to want to throw in like a let's find some treasure, because these are nice. 40% is going to be better than this 25% one up here, and the 20% is going to be better than the 10 just flat gold find. We've got faster, harder, stronger. It's post stack. I don't really care too much. Cobalt camaraderie pre-stack, so we throw that in. Remember, that's the spec choices are pre-stack. I have an 81 now. Got that from some of them. Require some of these you get from completing her event tiers, so they may not be available to you now that the event is over, but do the best you can. Int +1 is going to be a good pickup eventually once you unlock Strahd as a patron. That's going to qualify Ishi for Strahd, and if you're using her as your primary DPS, you want her there too, right? She also has this shop restricted one. It's so 72 more days. It's going to be you can only get it for cash as part of her pack. It's the damage of all champions 20%, and it's for each unique species. It's an interesting build around, but it's just a flat damage, and it stacks additively, so it's like 200% bonus. A lot of these other multiplicatively stacking ones, like the pre-stack ones, are gonna, and then they're probably going to be more functional for you. But like I have this damage of Ishi by 60%. It could end up replacing this, right? You're just wanting tons of self damage, so keep that in mind once it's available. All right, so let's talk about 2 ways to get her attacking as fast as koboldly possible. The first thing I'm going to bring up that we found out in testing to get her to that super ultra mega cap that I was referring to, you cannot have any speed potions running, or you pause them. There's a new pause button, right? So you either can't have speed potions running, or you have to pause speed. Because the game currently, for how fast we're going to be attacking, the game, when it's sped up, cannot accurately process, for some reason, the number of actual attacks she would be doing. And I've submitted that as a bug. They've said they're going to look into how they want to, how they even address that. How would they? Like they're going to look into it. But for now, just know, to get your maximum amount of buffage, you need to pause your speed potions or just not use speed potions. Like if you're pushing deep, right? So let's talk about 2. The first one we're going to talk about is kind of one of my favorite things in the world, and I call it the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is Strongheart, Duke Ravengard, and any melee DPS. Any melee DPS. Those 3 together, I refer to as the Holy Trinity. And the idea here is that we're dealing with multiple abilities here, but it's based off Strongheart. Strongheart is the core of this. And Duke Ravengard is the secondary that makes it all functional. We're going to go string. It doesn't really matter what spec for Strongheart, as long as it's a lot of, whatever the best one for you is. But for the Holy Trinity, you're going Strength of Baldur's Gate, which basically it boosts crit chance and crit damage. Okay, we're going to talk about why. So here's the build around. This is only for melee. Again, this is only for melee champions. Duke Ravengard only works with melee champions. He has an ability called Critical Teamwork. Whenever a champion with a melee base attack, melee team, crits, you buff his own ability, which is nice, sure. But you also additively increase the odds of all champions in the formation getting crits by 1%. So everyone starts boosting their crit chance. In this situation, I'm already at 100% for Duke Ravengard, because we've already ramped up. Well, let me change. I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, okay. So he's sitting at a base chance of 64, and then he's gonna see how it starts ticking up because we're critting. Nice. So basically, everyone is getting a chance to crit more, and eventually, potentially, you can, in certain situations with certain champions, you get them up to 100%. Right? Like Duke Ravengard is going to be at 100%. It stacks up to 50 times. I think I've got a thing in. Yes. I think it's 40, and then I've got a feat in that makes it 50, potentially. Or maybe it's 50 and I have the feat makes it 60. The feat makes it 60. So it's 50 base, and the feat can make it 60. So you can add 60 crit chance to melee crit champions. Okay. This is key. Now, he has a lot of other buffs, and that's great. But that's the first kind of feeder ability that we're dealing with. And then we're feeding it into Strongheart, who with that 60 is now over 100% crit chance. Has a lot of crit damage. He's not the DPS. That's not the point. It synergizes, our $10 word for the day, with Righteous Might. Whenever Strongheart lands a critical hit, which he's doing on every attack now, right? For the next 20 seconds, he increases the damage of one of his buffs by a big amount. Great. And this is a pre-stack ability. So that alone is fantastic, right? But, also increases the healing amount of one of his other abilities. Cool, cool, cool. Reduces base attack speed cooldown of himself and any champions affected by his other ability, which is an adjacency ability, by half a second. So everybody's going to speed up and attack faster, because this is a multiplicatively stacking ability. Doesn't say it is. You have to infer, because it says whenever he lands a crit, you get this buff. And it stacks. However many crits you can land in 20 seconds is how many times you're going to get that buff. This usually sits around 17. If there is an endless supply of enemies. There's always somebody to attack. At the moment, it's going to be lower. Yeah, 9, 10. Because we're killing everything instantly. He just can't make it go as fast as he could. But you'll notice the current speed reduction, 5.5 to 6 seconds. He's sitting at 1.13. Why? That's his cap. That's his attack speed cap. He can't go lower than that. Different champions are going to have a different attack speed cap, and it's a functionality of their animation speed, like their attack animation speed. So this is as low as he can get, but that brings her down to 0.75. This is her attack animation speed. She fast, folks. She real fast. So this is how we ramp that up. So in this, because she's doing 60 seconds, right? This should get you to like 80. It gets, well, it might get, I said 91. I swear I've got a screenshot on 91. We're going to take a look. What's she looking at right now? 30s. She's in the 30s, and we're getting an E12, E13 buff. Bouncing around a little bit. E12. But we don't have an endless stream of enemies yet, right? So what we do is we're just gonna add a beefy tank. Gonna be Priv. Just because he's gonna stay alive. And we're gonna yeah, I have a screenshot of a 91. Ridiculous. We really should just get to 80, 81, but we can go faster. Notice how everyone is basically a blur. They're only coming back to the formation long enough to jump out again. Everybody is at their attack speed cap here. We got 0.75, we got 1.13, we got 1 second. Briv's at 7. Well, Briv's not adjacent, so we could make this so Briv's adjacent too, but we're not gonna. Okay. So now we can see a more realistic number. 1718, right? 1718 damage buff, E40s. Healing, E07, right? This makes Strongheart way better, folks. Way better. He's running a Justice Needs Champions in the E52 range. This is why I love the Holy Trinity. Because when you're at your wall, this is what it can throw down. Right? And we look over here, he's throwing down Marshal of Flaming Fist E28. We don't have enough. We don't even have stacks. I've only got 4 stacks on this. He's throwing out E28. That's solid, right? Let's go look at Ishi. Faster, harder, stronger in the 80s. E27. E27. Now, the thing here is these are humans. Strongheart and Duke Ravengard are humans. They're not helping Ishi out. They're getting her some solid attack speed, right? This is doable. And again, if those are the 2 humans you have to add in to make her go this fast, like those are the 2 champions, great. That's still a lot of damage, right? Strongheart's delivering in the E50s. Yay. We haven't even built up Duke Ravengard to know what he would deliver, right? So this is solid. This is respectable. This is just those 2 champions can get her there. Let's change this up a bit. There are 2 other champions that actually fit her non-human qualification. One of them is Whittle. Whittle has attack speed boost, but also has an ability called Hurry Up Now. Champions affected by Whittle's Vampiric Gaze have a 25% chance to immediately reset their base attack cooldown after they attack. Okay. Strongheart does have a feat to make him Dragonborn. I know that. But a brand new player isn't going to have that. But yes, you can. He's one of those with the glitches and with the glitch feats. You can glitch him. Now, Whittle also will make anyone adjacent to her attack as fast as the fastest attacker. Right here. Base attack cooldown equal to the quickest of the affected champions. So everybody's at 5 seconds at the moment. Because Ishi's at 5. But then Ishi's at 4.75 because she goes faster than that, right? The combo here is Alindra. Alindra is her pirate outfit because for me, pirate outfits are default skins. Alindra is kind of the build around for the Heroes of the Plains. She boosts the abilities that the Heroes of the Plains have on anyone that has her portent. This little eye that popped up over Whittle and now is over Ishi is her portent ability. So anybody that's portented gets an increased buff. So this was normally a 25% chance to immediately reset attack cooldowns. Now, where is it? Now it is a 2,045% chance, which basically means 100%. Which basically means 100%. So 100% of the time, you're immediately attacking now. Just with that, it doesn't even matter that it doesn't change the attack speed. I want to be clear. It's going to say her attack speed is still super high. But she is attacking on animation speed cooldown. Instant. And Whittle, just like with, it's kind of like the same kind of build around. It's an adjacency build around, just like with Strongheart. So everyone adjacent is going to get this, is going to get a fast attack speed, but it won't get this. The only one that's going to get this, so Strongheart will spread it to everyone adjacent. Whittle is only going to do whoever's portented. And normally, Alindra's only going to portent 2 people adjacent to her, and it will switch. This is not the ideal functionality. We would want to put her somewhere where she could only give it to 2, and this formation wouldn't normally do it. Fortunately, she has a spec that'll let her do it to 3, so here she could do it to all 3 of these spaces, and it would be up all the time. But look, Ishi's just ghost mode right now, right? But she's the only one doing ghost mode now. So in this situation, we're going to have non-humans and Ishi doing insta attacks, max attacks. Whereas, which is nice. Whittle's going to make some of the other people around her faster. Strongheart will make them all faster. If you're building with a lot of debuffers, like on-hit debuffers or on-hit buffers, Strongheart's going to be the better situation, right? For the party to apply things quicker. But for building around Ishi, we call this Alindra Whittle combo a little. This is fast, right? Let's go see if they fixed it. Maybe day 1 it was a little broken. Nope. Yeah, this is the bigger stacks. I don't know why. For the life of me, I don't know why this is faster, but it is. But it is. We're sitting at 89.90, folks. We pulled out 10 extra stacks. I don't know where. Occasionally I have seen this at 91. See, now we're consistently at 90. I don't know how to make it go 91, but I love it so much. This will only work without speed potions. This same formation with speed potions could be as low as 40 stacks. Like half. It could be like half the stacks. That's what you got to keep in mind. Right? And you'll notice, like I thought this was, for me, this is because I have basically 3,000 post stack multiplier. This is an E30 buff for me. But I think if lower this, you're still in the E27s, E28 range. So the item isn't giving it a ton, right? This is a fantastic build around. And, this is giving you your monsters or people 2 stacks and your let's find some treasure stacks. And again, let's find some treasure is post stack. I know this has a big number here. This is a visual bug at the very least. I think this should read 100% because all of this is reading as post stack multipliers. So I think they just need to fix this. They've got it entered as if it's a pre-stack, but it's not. Otherwise, this number, post-stack bonus, would be huge, and this one would be tiny. That's just the way they read. So this would be a build around potentially for... I don't even know. Let's see. Alindra is going to be... I mean, you're gonna have to look at the rest of your party. High Elf and Gnome, a Dampier Gnome. Now... Depending on the rest of your party, I tend to build around Exceptional because the rest of the people that I fit in then work better with Exceptional. You're going to have to figure out who you're going to be best with and pick Ishi's spec choice based off whatever that number is. But the big deal is really coming up with either a Holy Trinity so that you've got Strongheart and Duke Ravenguard giving her 80 stacks at your wall for faster, harder, stronger. Or Alindra and Whittle giving you 90. Okay. All right. Yeah, Friend of the Feared is the Dragonborn. So if you're trying to stack the middle spec for her, you can Strongheart into with a Dragonborn feat. Do I have it? I do. Right here. Dragonborn glitch feat. And then he becomes feared. There just isn't a glitch feat for Ravenguard currently. So you still end up with a human stack in the feared spec. That's what I said. You can build around them. They're great for more than just, even without the glitch feat, they're going to be a great build around just for the attack speed. But the highest potential is this combination. That's the big deal. The rest is going to be obviously based off your, what champions you have. But just know, if you're looking to get a couple champions to pair, like collecting champions to really optimize Ishi's faster, harder, stronger, which is, again, a big buff. Alindra and Whittle are the best two. If you want someone that's going to work with a lot more melee DPS, Strongheart and Duke Ravenguard. Here's the Treasure Hunter maxed out EO6. So if we were to kill one of these, which we're not gonna with this, it's boosting the gold find up to E11, and I only have 4 stacks of Let's Find Some Treasure. So if we go non-human, let's throw in more non-humans and just max out these stacks here. And there we go. So that means monsters are people too is about E19. That's why I said it's not huge, but it's your first build around. The gold find E13. So we had a good chunk just of that, just even at the E4. Yeah, we did not build around. Here's the problem: is we didn't build around the exceptional with this specific thing, but just so you can see what the numbers look like. Now we're slowing down. Slowing down. The knockback. It's the knockbacks. Okay. See, there's weird things that will change your stacks, folks. This is what we discovered with Ishi. It is odd. It is an oddness. But you can get outrageous stacks. That's how you optimize Ishi. All right, we're gonna go into our break. We did take an hour. I talked about a few things though. We're gonna take our musical break. When we come back, we'll do the Q&A. I've got a page full of questions, so that's great. So if you've been asking questions, I'm finally gonna get around to answering them. The song we're going to the break with is Alindra's song, since she's the combo with Ishi. One of the combos with Ishi here. This is the Lore Keeper's Legacy.
Daughter of oblivion, changer of our fates, past and future intertwined, the path is never straight, logic cuts her enemies, reason never wanes, tolling bells of destiny, as she crosses through the flames. Stories keep on moving on, teaching those she knows. Lord, keep her from dusk till dawn. Wonder only grows. She carries her home in her heart. The past and the future she parts. With her friend on her shoulders, there's nothing that can hold her. The wheel of time is wayward. She can find the thread, telling one of countless futures. The rest will go unsaid. Oh, forcing through the scrolls of time. If you can read them, only she can guide a friend, inspire and propel them. She carries a
Hey, we're back. I want to talk about something real quick. Because I don't see a question about it, but we definitely need to. I need to clarify. When I was talking about like separating, like obviously her base abilities, monsters are people too, and that's the non-human thing. That isn't necessarily the biggest build around, right? As we saw, numbers wise, the biggest build around is faster, harder, stronger, right? But then you want to balance monsters like non-humans and her spec choice, right? The more non-humans you can get, the bigger the gold find is. You'll get a good multiplier. It wasn't enormous, but it was good. But also you're going to get a lot of gold, which is great, especially when you're newer, right? But then you get another multiplier off the spec choice, and the spec choice doesn't care about human at all. Really. It wants you to match one of those three sets. And for that, even if it says human, as long as it says something else that qualifies, it's going to qualify for the spec choice, which is why the glitch feeds come in. They're not necessarily going to help you for monsters or people too. To be clear. They're going to help you on the spec choice. And I may have been confusing about that at the start, so I apologize. But just know you're trying to get a good combination, good strings of multipliers. So that, along with all of the abilities on the other champions. So sometimes you're going to choose a suboptimal champion, like, say, Strongheart and Duke Ravengard, to maximize one ability while getting as much as you can out of others with other champions. Did I fix this? I'm trying to fix something for later at the same time as we had that conversation. Almost. Hold on. There we go. Okay, that is done. Okay, so let's talk about questions. Let me see if we have any on the topic. We'll do the on-topic ones first, and then we'll do all the rest. We've got time. Rough Rider asks, so isn't Rhea a human too? Because I think when we were looking at non-humans, I was like, why is she showing up in non-humans? Because she's celestial. She's human and celestial. So, these filters aren't always the greatest. We do what we can with what we have. But sometimes you've got to, use your own knowledge of champions as well, right? This search tool is highly functional. And we didn't have anything that worked like it before. It was kind of the surprise feature that ended up, like, when I first heard about it, I was like, because the way it was described, I was like, but now I'm like, right? Because it's actually pretty fantastic for trying to filter things out. I don't necessarily always build a bench with it, hit apply, and then have those out there. But sometimes if I want to just look stuff up, it's fantastic. It's pretty fantastic. Get used to using it. Null Persona, do you think a not option would be a beneficial addition to the champion search screen next to any and all? That might be the easier way to do it, especially for some of these, right? I think for the standard and non-standard, I think they just need those checkboxes. Standard, species, non-standard, because those are large groupings. And it sounds like they're gonna be using that fairly regularly now, as potentially as a buff trigger. But then a not thing, yeah, absolutely. So that you can just find non-humans. Just not, and then click human, and we're good, right? I think that's a good idea. I think you suggest that to them. Mr. Blunt 42, when you were demonstrating non-humans in the champion search, War Duck did not get filtered out. I know he looks like a duck. Well, he's a war duck. He's a war duck. But he's listed as human. Do you have a feat that adds a different race to him? No. His name is actually War Duke, and he's a human. It's just, we all call him War Duck, so they made a duck skin, and I don't even use War Duke as a champion. But I bought that because, yes, of course, why wouldn't I? Yeah, just great. Poor duck. He needs a duck. He needs a duck race, like a species tag. That would be hilarious. But I think it would just would it just be Aarakocra? Would he just become Aarakocra? Because that's kind of where they bundle most of the birds, except for Kenku. But the Kenku are basically a very specific bird. Whereas everything else kind of goes under Aarakocra. The giant Mimir. So feared and non-standard need custom filtering. Yes, that's why I saved them. Well, they all need custom filtering. So I have familiar, feared. I have non-human overall, and I have non-standard. Non-standard I saved as non-standard. I put Ishi and familiar and feared because those are her spec choices. But non-human is just a good thing to know as general, and then non-standard is good for both Calyx and Ishi currently. So all three of her spec choices need their own custom filter. I don't know what the limit of these is, or if there will be one, or if once it gets to the bottom of the screen, it scrolls. I only found out about that recently, like a few weeks ago, and it had been in the game for a while. I just didn't need it until this came out, I guess. All right. What else we got? Question from the lurking writer: should Ishi's new last name be Snag the Loot instead of Snaggletooth? I mean, I think you could. That could be a nickname. Yeah, I don't think we can change her last name. It is Snaggletooth, but Snag the Loot is probably a good option. Old Ishi Snag the Loot. Yeah. That's gonna get answered later on its own. E-Swordsman. So because we were talking about crit chances, what happens if your crit chance goes over 100%? You have a chance to once it goes to 115, like we saw with Strongheart, it has a chance to double crit. Then crit chance basically initially to 100% is the chance for your crit to do whatever your crit damage is. This is the multiplier that then gets put onto your damage. If this gets over 100%, why are we? Oh, because we're not using. I'm like, why are we so low? But we don't have them in the party. If this gets over 100%, then it becomes a multiplier. So if it's a 2x multiplier, it's like a double crit damage. It becomes its own multiplier. You see this most effectively with Caddy Bree, who has an item that ups her crit chance. So she's at 362. So usually she's at like a 4 or 5x multiplier, and with some huge crit damage to multiply that against. Yeah, Rosie's also one that can run that up a bit. Well, Rosie's the queen of crit damage. Caddy Bree is the queen of crit chance. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fun functionality. Normally you used to only see it on Caddy Bree. Now there's more ways to get some people over 100%. Mirage can Ishi use duel to the death stacks if Briv jumps past the boss? No, because the boss doesn't get killed when you jump over it. I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about duel to the death. My bad. The most efficient way, if you're not if you're a new player, I think you should just be using Ishi as your DPS. But if you're a more established player, you have a different, or you just prefer a different DPS. Park her in a background party that cycles to 50. I put a tank in front of her. In fact, I had this. Oh, it's not going to show it. I just had her and Nayeli, and I don't think I have any duel to the death stacks. Yeah, I've used them all up. So it works really efficiently in the background. Just leave it, let her go. It's fantastic. But also if you're actively using her. If you're trying to actively farm her stacks, then we start getting hypothetical. And the current hypothetical is Briv and Ishi in a party, but you only put Briv in on the boss level with a 4-jump Briv, and you just jump boss to boss to boss. It's silly. I really think you just park her, either use her as your DPS or park her in a background party. And it's fine. Lurking Rider, have you established that Ishi is really good as a starter DPS? Yeah. With her spec choices, she seems suited to accounts with a more full roster of champions. Well, you don't. It's like with Ashara. Ashara is a starter champion, but the more you collect, the better she gets. And Ishi's the same way. This is why she scales. Like, if she was only good out of the box and then stopped, she would only be good for new players and then wouldn't be good beyond that, right? By having spec choices that require collecting other champions, you're allowing her to continually scale as you're progressing through the game, and that's a good thing. So if Ishi were not sharing a bench seat with Karlach, how likely would you be to use her on a main account? Well, I don't use Karlach just because she's a ton of damage. She is. I use Karlach because I love Karlach. So for me, I'm going to use Karlach. But when I can't use Karlach, if Karlach's restricted out, I may throw Ishi. Ishi is now a new option. I have lots of options. That's a nice thing. When you're in the late game, hopefully you will have developed lots of options for DPS. The more options you have, the better. So Ishi is now an option, along with, like, if we go look at DPS. So Lae'zel is an okay option. Gromma in her DPS spec can be a good option. I know Artemis exists. Commodore Crux is a fantastic option in 4. Ishi's a great option. Karlach's a great option. Kent is okay. I don't really do seat 5 DPS. Ashara scales well. Cass is ridiculous. Krond is just a bit under ridiculous. Like, Cass is more ridiculous than Krond. He's like a beefed up Krond. If that's possible. I think everybody here is solid, but Cass is the ridiculous one. Over here, I like Caddy Bree. Jim is super solid as well. There's ways to make. I think Black Viper, Farida, and Minsk are probably similar. Well, there's probably a better Black Viper formation to bring her on par with Lucius, probably. Farida and Minsk are kind of at the bottom of the list currently. Warduke is the big option here in 8, but both of these are functional. Birdsong is huge here. Jaheira probably coming in right after that. Makos, if you mix it with Sergeant Knox, might be the solid. Might be even better than Dritz. Otherwise, they're probably... Dritz is better than Makos. Rosie, huge. Huge here. I would put Yorvin after Rosie and then Torgar last. Jamila is the worst DPS in the game, I think. Yeah, probably. Dark Urge is the most versatile. Strix Warden, pretty comparable, then Ryza, and then down here to Ella. And then 12, Zorbu and Bobby. Azaka and Archon. I mean, towards the lower end. Top end, bottom end. Yeah, I mean, there's having lots of viable options, understanding how to use them. Because when you're restricted out, looking at your overall choices, especially now from like over here, if you're in a variant, you can click current adventure and it only shows you who qualifies for the current adventure. Looking at your overall choices and understanding like who pairs well with good DPS lets you really then, if you know how they work, you're going to find a good solution. Oh, I didn't even talk about. Well, I don't consider nerds. Period. Nerds is probably the worst DPS thing. No, I don't know. Jamila's the worst. Nerds is probably right there with her. All right, let's go to general questions, sir. E-Swordsman, as a newer player, what would be a recommended use for shiny potions? Use an Umbriv for a natural haste. Awesome. Eliwick for deck and many things. Fantastic. And Human for hello, fellow human. No. No, not this one. This one. Unless you have a golden here, you don't want hello, fellow humans. I hate to break it to you. You want the eggs. You want slot 4. Human's slot 4 is the priority. This is the speed ability. I know I've got a golden here, but look, this was I was buying packs when I had disposable income, and I've got goldens in all kinds of places. But this would be the priority for a shiny potion. You're already doing, I mean, you've kind of got the idea. Hell, I read that part. You were on the right track. Speed effect and gems, which is speed effects that do increase gems, but Jelly specifically deck of many things increases gems as well as gold. So it's a double dip. A natural haste on Briv, yeah, speed effect. But Human, yes, speed effect. You want to look at, let's go back over here. We set filters. Roll, speed. So first targets for potions of shiny, which is we're gilding, but this is specifically shiny, are any speed champions that have an item that supports their speed effect. Human is, again, slot 4. I would say that's the first target. Because Briv takes a while to build up, and you don't have to worry about him as quick, but you can start building up your Human early. Whether you want to do Diana's be right back or not is kind of up to you. She doesn't need a heavy investment to get capped out, but a shiny, if you have one, will make it faster to get to her cap. Like, this isn't item level capped, but it's effect capped because I have Feats. And the golden, she was an experiment. Some people didn't like it. I like it, but a lot of people didn't like it. So who else then are we going to look at? Whittle has, where is it to be? Tasty Friends. You could shiny that to make that more effective for her. I'm just trying to think about the champions here that are really going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. Sentries, slot 3, Redshift. That's going to be her speed effect. Again, Briv's slot 4. Virgil is slot 5, but Good Lord, even with a golden, he needs like 1400 item levels. So I don't put him at the top of that list. He's like later on. Vi has I'm too old for this. Melf has Speedy Supplement. Both of those are interesting. But really, like, Human, priorities are like Human, Diana, Whittle, Sentry, if you pick them up first. Briv eventually. I found it more efficient to max out the supplemental champions and use Briv as a beefy tank early on. Because I really don't feel like he comes into the zone until your mid to late game areas. You just aren't generating enough gems to really boost him to where he needs to be, whereas the others get to where they need to be much quicker, have much more always on functionality, making them more efficient uses. So speed champions first is what you should be getting out of this. After speed champions, then you look at whoever you're using in your pushing group, like for trials or whatnot, or if you're not at trials yet, just whoever you're using for deep pushing that's an event champion, and you look to see if they have any pre-stack abilities. If you can't figure that out on your own, I've got a Blacksmithing Contracts 101 guide, because you need to know pre-stack abilities for the kind of ideal places to drop item levels. And I have a fairly comprehensive list. I'll have to go through. I'm not sure if I've updated it with Ishi and Calyx yet. In fact, I should make a note while I'm thinking about that. So that you kind of know, right, where to go with that kind of stuff. Yeah. Plus, we have a new event starting. I'll have to update it for the new champions coming in as well. Rough Rider, why isn't this the default speed for opening the chest? Oh, this? I don't know. It kind of should be, right? It's just that animators like to show off their animations, and that usually slower is easier to see, probably. Scrub Kai, looks like we're getting 2 new champions in Fleet's Wake. We are. Only one of them is worth talking about. No. I've got a beef. I've got a roleplay beef with one of them. They've announced, well, we know who both of them are. The Augments blog told us that we are getting Volo week 1 and Sheila in week 2. Sheila being another member of the Saturday Morning Squad. Volo being a hack. Have there been an Events 2.0 with 2 new champions and not a rework? Yes, we got Umberto and what's her name? Oh no. Aeon. Aeon and Umberto. Umberto is the bear druid. In the past. So yeah. That has happened. But then the next event had 2 reworks. So it always kind of adds. The average so far has been 1 new champion, 1 rework. Rajbach, how much favor do you need to clear 825 with just click damage for patron variants like Wagon Train? I don't know, because I just do that the way it's intended to do, which is bud spiking. Because I believe Wagon Train, basically the further you go, the more wagons take up spaces. But if you go all the way back to Area 1, they should all leave the party, and then you put a full party in, level them up, spike your bud, hit a fire breath potion, turn progress back on, and burn everything, and then you just rinse repeat until you're done. That's easier than trying to get tons of favor. But there's websites out there that'll tell you what the favor goals are. Barrels, who should I get from the time gate? I just started a week ago. I don't know who your time gate is. What you need to do if you want a time gate question, I'm totally open to answering time gate questions. Everybody's is going to be different. Or for the most part, statistically, a couple people might have the same one, but it's going to show you 3 that's based on your account. So tell me, I need to know which 3. So put like Entreus, and then tell me in parentheses, tell me how many champions you have in that bench seat. Same with the others, because then that's going to help me tell me how to. Because the first thing you want to do is try to get duplicates in multiple people in bench seats, and you're working towards split the party 1 and then split the party 2. That's going to help me give you the best recommendation. Seoki, is the game bug split the party from active tasks is causing issues? I don't use the active tasks screen, so I don't know. Also, you didn't tell me what the issue is, so I have no way to answer that question. Zach Racken, what are the best scaling champions to push item levels for their gold find abilities? Gold find. I think off the top of my head, we're talking Eric has a lot of gold. I haven't checked the actual math, but Eric seems to scale pretty well with gold find. So does Mahen. They both have items for that. Valentine, probably, with the way hers functions. Hard to say. For me, I think Astarion has generational wealth. His is going to scale on the party as well, but I think the item scales fairly well. Rust, obviously. And then, the stackers, Dob and Penelope, have scaling. I don't know exactly which. I haven't tried to do the math and try to figure out exactly who has the best scaling. But I've definitely been dumping more item levels. Like my Mahen is like 2,000. Eric is almost 2,000 because of their gold find. I've been trying to boost item levels on champions that have good gold find items. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Sergio, was there a sneak change to Trials of Tiamat offline progression? I doubt it. Usually I was able to start Trials on day 1, log off, come back next day, and complete with date ended, and it earned me DPS. That's really not the most efficient way to do that, but I see what you're trying to say. Today I came back to yesterday's start, it was around 1400 something, and after date ended complete, I have failed checkmark in my day's queue. I was, I don't know. I think maybe you were getting lucky. I don't know. You're going to need to submit it. I don't think there was a sneak change. I don't actually know the way that was supposed to work. Yeah. I don't know the way that was actually supposed to work. Because, yeah, it does end your run at the end of the day. But I don't know if it was supposed to be giving you that progress. If it was, I think that's great. But, yeah. I don't know. I think you're just gonna have to submit a ticket on that one and ask. And not ask, did you change something? Just ask, how is this supposed to work? Like, here's what it did. Here's what I expected it to do. What's it supposed to do? Right? Yeah. But yeah, when you're just kind of going like kind of AFKing it in a sense. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've never done that, so I have no way to answer that question. Like I've never gone purposely and tried to do that. I've accidentally done it, but I don't remember if I got credit or not. Because it's happened so rarely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I ran out of questions. And we still got about 15, 20 minutes left, folks. So, Eliwick is a great scaling champion. Yes, for gold as well. See? This wasn't something that I was thinking about. But deck of many things affects, with moon cards, affects her scaling. And obviously adding the item levels to it can give her bonuses as well. So, yeah. There's a lot of really good gold find champions that scale with gold find. Yeah. How are we still sitting? I really want to see this hit that. No, that's 90. I do have I swear I have a screenshot with it at 91, but I know we were 90s. I don't know why it hit 91 once, but see, like now it's pretty consistently 90. I feel like it could trigger a 91, but it's just not. It's just not. Aggie Just, which variants have you found the most difficult? I have not done a lot of the recent ones, so I don't think I can really answer that question. There are some event variants that are challenging, like to do tier 4 of, because that's where I'm at. But I don't like write them down or try to remember them because I'm done with them. And I haven't really tried to push through all of the patron stuff because I don't really, I'll be honest, at where I'm at, I don't feel like I'm already at like tier 9 in patron perks, and I don't feel like 10 and 11 are worth the effort. So I just haven't bothered. So I've just been waiting for super high level variants to come in that I can just go knock out that aren't that difficult and get that influence, and because eventually that's going to happen because that's how this game has worked over time. So I don't know. There isn't really a reason to be like, out of just pure completionism, there isn't really a reason to like do all the patron stuff, so I just haven't made it a point to do it all. Like there are for a couple things, like Carlock doing all the Zerial patron stuff. I have enough that she's got a very large buff off her ability for that, and I haven't bothered to max it out. Commodore Crux also gets a lot, but he's scaled so well just with being an evergreen with item levels that I haven't tried to do all the Xerxes stuff with all the patrons yet. And Sam, can you run over the feats for Duke again? Okay, I didn't go over them before because that wasn't who we were talking about. Damage all champions. He's got a tadpole if you're going to throw him in an absolute adversaries formation, in which case you'd probably also want to go the right hand spec because then he's got bonuses. He gives you basically extra credit if you can't get. Anyway, yeah, he's got stuff. Max stacks of his critical teamwork. I like this if you're trying to build around crit. It's going to be situational based off the team, but I use it because I'm always doing Holy Trinity stuff. Heart of Battle lets him keep his stacks, so it doesn't take as long to stack up. This is useful when you're pushing really deep and you're not going to live. You may not live very long as survivability goes down. He's got Flaming Fist, Position of Power. I don't worry about those. Critical Teamwork. I do have one of those. He's got int +2, which qualifies him for Strahd. First draw, Zoldan or Lamo. Earlier question about time goes for Bobby, Kreidel, or Warden. Oh, okay. Bobby, Kreidel, or Warden. But again, I don't know how many you have in each seat. Are they all your first swap? Again, when you're new, I think this was for barrels, right? When you're new, the important thing is trying to get like one of these swippy swappy buttons so that you have an extra champion in every bench seat. They're all first swap. Okay, that's what I need to know. So that's the important first thing we want to rule out. Then we're going to look at each of those champions to try to determine what's best. When you're new, if you don't have a ton of favor in campaigns, getting the later seat champions in and getting them leveled up to their functional places is a little harder. So there's a little more encouragement to do a lower seat. Kreidel would be a seat 2 champion, and so you might be able to get him in and leveled up. He's a tank. He's the game's only dodge tank, which means he doesn't actually get hit until he does, and then he falls over. But he tries to dodge all the damage, which is pretty cool. But he buffs all the way in the back, like the back 2 columns. So it's a bit of a different situation from like Nayeli for building your formation around him. Bobby is more of a DPS than a support. He likes to attack from closer to the front. Some people like to throw him in the front column. I do not recommend that. Put him in the column right behind that. He can be a support, but usually people put him in because Bobby goes smash. And Warden is a DPS and debuffer. He's a solid DPS now. Debuffers and support is usually what you're using him for. I think all 3 of those, if they're all first swaps, they're all fine. I think you might get, because Kreidel is lower, you might, like in the bench seat list, you might use him more often while you're new. Kreidel's really going to be great. Like, I use him now trying to push super deep because he doesn't get hit. So, yeah. Well, Maxie, I'm never going to make recommendations based off Artemis, so... Manji, been a while since I asked this kind of question, but with Mardi Gras coming up on Tuesday, should I make gumbo or jambalaya? Whatever you want. Those are not things I grew up with. I remember maybe having jambalaya a few times, but I doubt it was a good Cajun jambalaya. And I'm not really a seafood person, so I don't really have or crawfish, I should say, and that's more usually crawfish gumbo. I don't have a way to give you a good idea for that. Somebody else in chat, maybe. I mean, both? Por qué no los dos? Why not both? Man, it is coming up. That's wild, because for some reason there's been like Mardi Gras king cakes at the grocery store for weeks. But like, why would you buy it that far in advance? Silly. LFA, how would you prioritize patron variants to balance absolute adversary support and patron perks? I mean, right off the top of my head, I'm going to say that's going to depend on who you're using as a DPS, right? Might be slightly different. Because like, here's Mert's going to do neutral, right? You should have already had by then. Let's look at the higher level. Well, I mean, if you're new. The rest isn't really, because we're looking at globals. Locals is just when you're doing their stuff. So the qualifier for Mert, the big qualifier is going to be, are they neutral or not? And that's on the good and evil axis, which I don't think any of them are. I don't think Mert even works. Con 14 for Vajra. Again, that's only 150%. But I don't know that this is where you'd look for your damage. I feel like obviously it's building around legendaries, and probably your Modron cores. This is magic base attack, so this might be something. Well, no, because if it's adversaries heavy, you're not going to have a lot of magic base attacks. Okay, let's look at Strahd. Int 13 or higher? Maybe? I don't know. No, I mean, obviously not for Karlach. Lae'zel? I don't think Lae'zel has Int 13, does she? No. Does she have a feat for that? If she has a feat, that'd make her qualify. The Dark Urge 12. I think he's got a feat for that, doesn't he? So yeah, you got to look at that. What else we got? Evil. The Strahd 750 for evil. So that's Lae'zel and the Dark Urge, as long as you don't spec the Dark Urge into his good spec, right? Heavy hitters base attack cooldown greater than 6. I don't even track that. So I don't really pay attention to. I mean, you just kind of get this stuff, and then I don't know that you always try to build a max health. No, that's not going to matter. Good champ, that's healing on good champions. That doesn't matter. Damage of all champions. Strength 13 plus Karlach. You're going to max out Zerial. But, I mean, that makes sense for Karlach anyway, right? The big build around is for Karlach DPS, you're maxing out Zerial. Right? 50 years. Yeah. I feel like the big thing for patron perks is if you're going to do Zerial DPS, or you're going to do Karlach DPS, then you Zerial. After that, I don't know that you're getting a whole lot. I mean, you're going to get some stuff, but it's going to be general bonuses from all of the patrons for perks. I think the bigger question is which core, Modron core, is going to give you the best buff for your DPS. Lord Torek, are the Holy Trinity part of your Trials push team? When they qualify, yeah. You rotate speed and push teams throughout the adventure? No, I start my trials run with a speed group, and then sometimes that will get me through my day. Now I'm up to 1075, 1050s, 1075s. With my full powered core, fast core, I can usually just do that with the speed team now. At least through 1050, sometimes 1075. Otherwise, when I get to the end, I have another team I swap to that's a power team, and then it finishes off. Then I'm done for the day. Because you only have to get to your daily goal. But on the first day, I start with the speed team. I go as far as I can. Then I switch to the pushing team, and I go as far as I can. Well, less about going as far as you can in that situation, more about getting your damage ramped up to its highest level. But going as far as you can is, hey, if you want the extra favor for it too. Super TB is a returning player after almost 3 years of absence. Welcome back. I'm slowly relearning the game for the last couple of weeks. First thing, somebody's probably already said this. First, welcome back. Second, if you had signed up for the newsletter back then and you did not delete those emails, go find that stack of, I don't even know, 150 emails. All the codes in there for chests and for champions are all valid still. They never expire. And spend a little while with this. Come over here, control click, hold down left control, click on this so it opens up and closes quickly. And spend a while punching in all of those codes. Just copy paste them in from your email address and get all of that stuff. Because you're going to have a couple free champions, at least 2, maybe more free champions, some skins, and tons of chests. If not, no biggie. But if you can get free stuff, get free stuff. Any major changes, updates I should be aware of? Oh, God, in 3 years? Yeah. The biggest is events now start on the first Wednesday of every month. They last for 3 weeks. They have 2 featured champions. One is usually a new champion, and the second is usually a rework champion. But sometimes, like it's going to be with Fleet's Wake, it's going to be 2 new champions. And then you can unlock up to 4 more of your choice from a grouping of champions that are selectable in that event. So great way to get new champions. You do, like, there's tiers of doing their variants, and that can reward you with more chests, but also permanent unlockables like feats and pigments and legendaries. There's different things you can get from the featured champions or champions who've been featured champions in the past. So events are a big deal now. Much nicer, much better. What else changed? I mean, so much has changed in the last 3 years, but what are the big ones? Well, obviously, the cash shop changed and is now a patron shop. You have weekly offers. Let's see what my offers are. Where you can basically get discounted deals. Oh, I got the 100 free platinum, folks! Ding 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 ding. I went to Vegas and I hit the jackpot. I will take that. That's the first time I've gotten that one. And then, like, if you want to buy, if these are things you might want to buy, there's discounts for your weekly offer. Otherwise, but everything in the game costs platinum now, so you pay cash for platinum. And obviously, the more you buy at once, the more efficient it is. But like most of them match like a purchase, like a size of a pack. Like 840 is the smallest pack, so $6 for a purchase at the smallest pack. The most efficient way to get platinum, though, is to click daily, where you can get platinum for free. So now you can basically get cash for free and spend it on stuff in the game. But getting this daily boost for $5 and just logging in regularly is the most efficient way to get platinum. That's a big change. I guess pigments would be new. Pigments add extra functionality of things. So there's a support pigment, which gives a support buff. There's a DPS pigment which buffs damage. There's a tank pigment, which gives them more health. And there's a healing pigment, which boosts health received by the party. There's a new shop called the Thayan Enclave, where you earn these things called corrupted gems occasionally. You buy support pigments with them. They also have like golden epics if you want them. There's feats if you want them. There's skins if you want them. Don't buy chests. So just a way to earn more things for free. That kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of new. I mean, the main thing is they've changed their design philosophy around champion power. Back in the old days, pre-events 2.0, the idea was champions should arrive in the game kind of average. And they wanted everybody to be kind of average, so that everyone was roughly equal as average feeling. But there were some overpowered champions in the game, and rather than nerf those recently, they tried doing some stuff, and nerfs didn't go over well, so they changed their philosophy to everybody should come in feeling OP. And they've done a fairly good job of people coming in more at that end of the spectrum, more at the top tiers of the spectrum as opposed to the lower. But that's also created a sensation where a lot of these older champions just don't feel good at all, and just can't compete. Which is fine if you're coming in as a new player, you're getting solid champions. So they're also reworking one champion a month on average, and a goal again of the reworks is to make them feel OP. They've hit that for most. They reworked Stokey recently, and she came in better than she was. She in the new meta. She had shifted down kind of the bottom, towards the bottom section. Now she's kind of middle, a little in the middle, and she didn't make it into kind of the top groupings, like where she's super viable. But most things have become super viable. Now, obviously, there's still some champions that are OP and that everybody just leans into. But nowadays, like we were just talking about Ishi, nowadays there are so many more options for doing viable damage and pushing and clearing content than there ever was before. Yeah. And they're leaning into these pre-stack abilities. I call them mathematically overpowered, or MOP abilities, which basically it's a multiplicatively stacking ability that has item and feat support, and those item and feats apply their boost to the pre-stack value, which is the most OP way to do it. They're really delivering lots of those regularly on champions. Like when we have a champion that doesn't have one, nowadays I actually get shocked. Whereas it used to be if they actually put one on a champion, I was amazed, because those are kind of the imbalanced abilities. But then they turn around, they threw like 4 technically on Will. like he's got 4 abilities that basically are pre-stack, but they all feed into a couple, like into 2 main ones. It's wild. So they've really changed their philosophy, and the champions feel a lot better. But tons of things have changed. Yeah, tons of things. All right, folks, that's it. We reached the end of our time. Thank you to all of you for asking questions. Thank you to Sasha for grabbing the questions. This is the end of streams for this week on this channel. Streams will return on this channel on Tuesday. However, you can head over to my channel, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. You can just click on my name and toss me a follow. I stream Idle Champions on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then I stream other games on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Once the new apothecary/notary system hits, I will most likely be starting a new account, an alternate account. I'll still have my main, but I will play through that new account on stream, and will most likely do that most days of the week. I don't think it'll be all 5 days, but we'll probably do like 4 days of the week on the new account. Or just 4 days of Idle Champions a week. And people can follow along if you're new. See how the game has changed. It feels like that's going to be soon. So, but come hang out with us over there. We have a good time. The song we're going out on. Look, it's Ishi Day. We got to go out on Kobolds are number 1. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Kobolds are really tough. Kobolds will steal your stuff. Kobolds we like to sing. Kobolds will take your things. Kobolds live underground. Kobolds we run around. Kobolds we like the dark. Kobolds don't need no art. We may be small, we may be last, but we are many and we're coming fast. So hide all your gold and pack up your tools. We'll stomp on your toes and steal all your jewels. Kobolds covered in scales. Kobolds, we have cool tails. Kobolds, we're not that short. Kobolds, we're in your port. Kobolds come from dragons. Kobolds train your dragons. Kobolds deserve the praise. Kobolds are really brave. We may be small, we may be last, but we are many and we're coming fast. So hide all your gold and pack up your tools. We'll stomp on your toes and steal all your jewels. Shiny rocks and bits of string, skulls and bones and slimy things, hunting treasures, lots of fun. Kobolds take your stuff and run. Kobolds we like the best. Kobolds smarter than the rest. Kobolds hide in your group tree. Kobolds stack tall as you. We may be small, we may be last, but we are many and we're coming fast. So hide all your gold and pack up your tools. We'll stomp on your toes and steal all your jewels. Kobolds we fight in herds. Kobolds we forget words. Kobolds are wanna see more fun.